just within 1 year, what has happened that the Islami Chhatra Shibir has gained landslide victory in the election of Dhaka University Central Students Union. Welcome to this analysis. I am Muhammad Kamruzzaman from Bangladesh's capital Dhaka. The whole country now is discussing about the landslide victory of Bangladesh Islami Chhatra Shibir in the election of Dhaka University Central Students Union DUCSU. This organization was fully banned, and even there was no single official work of this organization in any part of the country. But just after the fall of Sheikh Hasina through a mass uprising last year in August 2024, just within 1 year, what has happened that the Islami Chhatra Shibir has gained landslide victory in the election of Dhaka University Central Students Union. Now, after this victory, actually the narrative, long established narrative of politics in Bangladesh has been changed. Awami League, the ousted ruling party, established a narrative here that the politics based on the spirit of the 1971 Liberation War will only survive in this country. And everywhere, the then Awami League established the narrative that those who opposed the 1971 Liberation War has no place in this country to do politics. But after the fall of Sheikh Hasina, this narrative has been weakened. The young generation who took part in the July uprising, they didn't ignore the spirit of the 1971 Liberation War. Actually, they tried to establish the real spirit. What is that? One of the big causes of that Liberation War was deprivation or discrimination. Bangladesh was at that time East Pakistan, and the people of this part were deprived from some legitimate rights. So deprivation was one of the main causes of the Liberation War. And another big cause of Liberation War was that the lack of proper election. You know that in the 1970 general election in the United Pakistan, Sheikh Mujib and Awami League gained a landslide victory. But due to some rigid stance of the leaders of West Pakistan at that time, Sheikh Mujib was not able to go to the power. Discontent was started from that election, and it escalated gradually, and finally Bangladeshi people took part in a 9-month-long bloody liberation war, and Bangladesh got independence after that liberation war. Sheikh Hasina, after coming to power in 2009, after the 2008 general election that was held in December 2008. But Sheikh Hasina unfortunately smashed or destroyed these two main spirits of liberation war. That is voting right of the people and discrimination. Everywhere there were nepotism, politicization, and even in the recruitment of all important sector, Awami League appointed people who were very loyal to its political party. So the two main spirits of the Liberation War was fully smashed by Awami League. So people are not anymore convinced to do politics based on the spirit of the so-called Liberation War. People actually want to hold the real spirit of the Liberation War. That means establish justice and ensure voting right of the people. So after the landslide victory of Chhatra Shibir in the DUCSU election, it has been established that people are so much conscious and they are not convinced at all by the mere colloquial spirit of the Liberation War. They want to see the establishment of the spirit of Liberation War in the real sense, truly. So they believe in true democracy. And as a result of that, Islami Chhatra Shibir, despite huge allegations against this student wing that this is the student force of Jamaat-e-Islami who opposed the Liberation War in 1971, and many top leaders of Jamaat-e-Islami were hanged in accusation of crimes against humanity in 1971 Liberation War. The most conscious part of the country, that means the students of Dhaka University, they choose Chhatra Shibir and they elected Chhatra Shibir in the DUCSU election. Out of total 28 posts in the central body of DUCSU, 23 were gained by Chhatra Shibir. And unfortunately, after the August 5 mass uprising, BNP, the main political party of this country now, some of the leaders actually of this party trying to establish the same narrative as Awami League did in its nearly 16-year-long authoritarian regime. That means the spirit of liberation or the spirit of the freedom movement. So people are not at all ready to take the long past issue to convince the people politically. They actually want to see the real the spirit of liberation war in the ground level. That means those who are honest, those who practice honesty. Actually, the people of this country are not ready at all to follow the so-called liberation war spirit. People will choose those who are honest, those who don't believe in discrimination, and those who are able to establish rule of law, justice in this country. I think that the politics of BNP, there will be a qualitative change, and BNP leaders, of course, will understand that they need to establish the spirit of liberation war in the real sense. They should be honest. They should stop extortion. They should establish rule of law. They should establish justice. You know that the country is waiting for a national election that is to be held in February next year, according to the schedule declared by the interim government led by Nobel Peace Laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus. So after the landslide victory of Islami Chhatra Shibir in the Dhaka University Central Students Union election or DUCSU election, the whole narrative of politics in this country has been changed a lot, and people and all political parties now understand that they should work properly, they should work honestly, they should try to establish rule of law, and they should stop politically using the spirit of the liberation war. After the landslide victory of Islami Chhatra Shibir in the DUCSU election, the main change in Bangladesh we will see is that a qualitative change in the politics of Bangladesh. And the main political party, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, they will come back from their previous narrative that was established by Awami League, and they will do quality politics here in Bangladesh. Now people are waiting to see peaceful election. Every sector of the state will run based on justice and rule of law. There will not be any quarter who will work and who will do the corruption, who will practice extortion, and who will involve in criminal activities. People are so much conscious, and after the election of DUCSU and landslide victory by Islami Chhatra Shibir, the whole political narrative in this country has totally been changed. And the young generation who lead the last year's uprising, they will come to the forefront and they will lead the country based on justice, rule of law, and democracy. And Bangladesh, of course, will go to its destination. That means Bangladesh will be a prosperous Bangladesh that will be very strong economically and socially, and all political parties will debate but in a congenial atmosphere, and they will practice democracy in the real sense, and there will be no place of any autocratic attempt here anymore, and no fascism will be established here if all the political parties work together based on justice and rule of law. And seemingly Bangladesh is going to that state in the coming days. Thank you very much for staying with me. Hope to see you again on other interesting topics. Until then, bye for now. Allah Hafiz.